Good evening and welcome. Tonight, Central Bank of Nigeria extends deadline for the collection of old Naira notes by another 10 days. APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu visits Oba of Benin, promises to ask for compensation on returned artifacts from Europe if elected president. Support group of the immediate past governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Bindau, rallies support for re-election of Governor Umaru Fintiri and the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar. And Memphis Police Department disbands crime-fighting unit codenamed Scorpion after officers allegedly murdered 29-year-old motorist Tyree Nichols. Nigerians were yet to deposit their old Naira notes in 200, 500 and 1,000. Can now heave a sigh of relief, at least for now, as the Central Bank of Nigeria has extended the deadline for collection of old Naira notes by 10 days from January 31st. That'll be on February 10, 2023. Apex Bank is also giving a 7-day grace period for Nigerians to deposit their old Naira notes at the Apex Bank after the February deadline in line with the CBN Act. This is disclosed by the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele after his meeting with President Buhari in his country home in Daura, Katsina State. Mr. Emefiele says the exercise has so far achieved 75% success rate, and the bank is working with anti-graft agencies to ensure full compliance.
Aside from those holding illicit and stolen Naira in their homes for speculative purpose, we do aim to give all Nigerians that have Naira legitimately earned and trapped the opportunity to deposit their legitimately trapped monies at the CBN for exchange. Based on the foregoing, we have today sought and obtained Mr. President's approval for the following. 1. A 10-day extension of the deadline from January 31, 2023 to February 10, 2023 to allow for collection of more old notes legitimately held by Nigerians and achieve more success in cash swap in our rural areas, in our villages and communities, after which all old notes outside the CBN loses their legal tender status. Our CBN staff, currently on mass mobilization and monitoring, together with officials of the EFCC and ICPC, will work together to achieve these objectives in the coming days. 2, a 7-day grace period beginning on February 10 to February 17, 2023, in compliance with Section 20, subsection 3 and Section 22 of the CBN Act, allowing Nigerians to deposit their old notes at the CBN after the February deadline, when the old currency would have lost its legal tender status. As at October 2022, currency in circulation had risen to 3.23 trillion naira, out of which only 500 billion was within the banking industry, and 2.7 trillion held permanently in people's homes. Ordinarily, when CBN releases currency into circulation, it is meant to be used, and after a friction of time, it returns to the CBN, thereby keeping the volume of currency in circulation under the firm control of the CBN. So far, and since the commencement of this program, we have collected about 1.9 trillion naira, leaving us with about 900 billion to 1 trillion naira, and 1 trillion naira to be collected.
For the House of Representatives, however, there's nothing to cheer about, as they did not see anything to cheer about with the extension. Lawmakers, however, insisting the position of the law is sacrosanct and must therefore be respected. The Ad Hoc Committee on New Naira Redesign and Naira Swap is saying the extension in deadline is not the needed solution, describing it as a political gimmick to deceive Nigerians and worsen their economic and social livelihood. The committee, in a statement by its chairman, Al-Hassan Ado Doguwa, restates the position of the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, to issue an arrest warrant on the CBN governor to get him to appear before it. The statement reads in part, the 10-day extension for the exchange of the old Naira notes is not the solution. We, as a legislative committee with a constitutional mandate of the House, would only accept clear compliance with Section 20, subsection 3, 4, and 5 of the CBN Act and nothing more. He also raises concern of the possibility of the policy frustrating the forthcoming general elections. On another issue is sharing news to the Kano State Governor, Umar Ganduje, who had earlier announced the state will not be able to host President Buhari because of the shortage of the new Naira notes. A governor who also met with the president in Daura today says the state is now prepared to receive President Buhari on the scheduled visit. The governor told journalists later the president will commission a number of projects, including federal and state, during the visit.
You can see that I have led a powerful delegation from Kano State on the issue of new Naira notes. And we have seen Mr. President. We have laid the complaint of the Kano people, and we are very, very happy. He explained to us, and also he assured us that the time is extended and the quantity of Naira, new Naira, the quantity will increase so that the suffering of the people will be reduced. We informed him that Kano is the most populous state in the Federation and also the commercial naval center of the northern part of Nigeria, second to Lagos. But in terms of cash transaction, Kano is much higher than Lagos because Lagos has gone far in terms of cashless society, cashless transaction. But Kano State being comparatively, a rural place, so to say, still we have 24 local government without banks. And most of the banks are concentrated within Kano Metropolitan. So you can imagine the suffering of the rural areas, rural people in terms of cash transaction. But we are happy that the time has been extended and also the quantum of the Naira notes will be increased. So we are so grateful to Mr. President for this effort.
Your Excellency, how prepared is the state to receive Mr. President tomorrow?
We are very much ready to receive him. And we have a lot for him to commission, including federal government projects, but mostly state government projects, and they are state-of-the-art projects.
Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria's cashless and new Naira redesign policy is affecting some local communities in Edo State. Residents, especially livestock sellers and business owners, have continued to lament poor patronage and non-availability of the new Naira notes. So how exactly they're coping with the changes? Maybe our next report can explain.
This is the Ngelsama Popular Cattle Market in Yobe State that houses about 2,000 cattle every market day. These few Fulani herders, who are desperate to sell their animals even at a cheap price, are not willing to receive the old Naira notes as they claim not to have bank accounts.
As I am talking to you, we do not have new nor old Naira notes in the market. I can show you a bull whose owner says without new Naira notes he'll return it back home, and he does not have bank account.
At Damaturu, the state capital, several shops are under lock and key as they are not ready to transact business with the old Naira notes. While at various commercial banks, some have to spend about 12 hours just to make withdrawals of 40,000 Naira.
I was here since in the morning around 5 a.m. So since that time, I was joining a queue. And moreover, even though you join the queue, you still see some people, they have clash on the number. And for you to go to the market to buy some things, actually we are suffering. You can see many people here. We are about 100. Most of us, some people, they even sleep here. We came 6 in the morning. Someone will just come and spend like 5 hours. Instead of someone going to market or doing something else, you come and join queue for 5 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours. Some people are here for even 24 hours just to withdraw 5,000 Naira.
With some business owners soliciting for effective and efficient bank transfer systems, this economist explains how billions of Naira are lost every day.
Shops are closing down because people no longer want to collect the old notes. And only the old notes are really circulating now in the economy. So just imagine the number of days that people have been rushing to the banks and they have refused collecting this money. You can see the untold misery it has brought to the economy. People can no longer buy as they used to buy. Inflation has gone up. I heard the other day in this Tasha here, They're exchanging just to withdraw from POS. It has gone to 300 naira now, because to tell you that the price of other commodities too, they have also gone up because of what? Our own headiness.
As the 31st of January 2023 deadline has been changed to the 10th of February, and an additional 7 days of grace added to that for the return of old Naira notes, those from rural areas that do not have bank accounts may become victims of circumstance, as only 4 out of the 13 local government councils of the state have banking services.
Supporters of the immediate past governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Bindo, have embarked on local government campaigns to drum up support for Governor Umaru Fintiri and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar ahead of next month's elections. Addressing members of the APC, the Director General of the Mindel Support Group, Michael Zira, says the group is throwing its weight behind the PDP candidates because of the confidence they repose in their ability to deliver on the gains of democracy.
Ganye local government area of Adamawa State is playing host to some members of the All Progressives Congress APC, drawn from the 195 electoral units in the area. Some of these party faithfuls, together with members of the Bindo support group, are joining their principal to renounce their membership of the APC in the state and to register their allegiance to the presidential candidate of the PDP, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and incumbent governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Fintiri, as their preferred candidates for next month's elections. Delivering a message from the immediate past Adamawa State Governor, Senator Umaru Bindo, the Director General of the Bindo Support Group assures their supporters of a level playing field for them.
I was the executive chairman by then when we formed APC. And looking at the transformation agenda of His Excellency, Governor Umaru Fintiri, we felt there's nothing we can do than to go and come and join him in moving Adamawa State.
The coordinators of the support group in Ganye local government say Governor Fintiri's administration is a continuation of their principal's achievements.
This is a testament to what Bindo is to the grassroots. Today we have activated his grassroots support base back into the PDP so that to help in the 2023 election, especially that of the Waziri Adamawa and then all other candidates of the PDP within this area. Our appeal is not only our support to Governor Fintiri, it's also to Atiku Abubakar. It's time for us in Adamawa to rally behind him.
As the general election fast approaches, some politicians in Adamawa State see next month's election as the best opportunity for Mr. Atiku Abubakar to be elected as president and Governor Fintiri to consolidate his rural and urban development programs in the state.
The Obi of Onitsha, His Royal Majesty Alfred Achebe, is asking Nigerians to remain united and love one another irrespective of their tribal or religious differences. Speaking at an event in Kaduna, the Royal Father notes the importance of unity and purpose in the forthcoming elections, saying Nigeria needs a good leader who will reunite the entire country and take it to greater heights. He's asking Nigerians to collect their permanent voter cards and ensure they vote for only those who have the capacity to tackle the numerous challenges confronting the nation.
My message is peace. Peace for the whole country. We are one. We are brothers and sisters. We must live together, work together. And what you see today in this community is very impressive. The university and the community are living in peace together. That should be emulated everywhere in the whole country. But everybody should come out and vote because they are right to vote. And if you don't vote, you cannot complain. This is democracy. So everybody should go and pick up their PVC cards and vote. And then the elections will be conducted in a very transparent manner. What Nigeria needs is a good president that will solve the problems of the country. That's what we need. But if you say Southeast today, Southwest tomorrow, this and that, no. I mean, the Southeast people are saying, yes, but then at the end of the day, what Nigerians will do is to produce who is the best.
In part two, after the break, governorship candidates of the African Democratic Congress, the Labour Party, and the People's Democratic Party in Lagos State present blueprints of their plans in a televised debate organized by the platform, a brainchild of the Covenant Nation. That'll be in a moment. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television Lagos. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Central Bank of Nigeria extends deadline for the collection of old Naira notes by another 10 days. APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu visits Oba of Benin, promises to ask for compensation on returned artifacts from Europe if elected president. Support group of the immediate past governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Bindo, rallies support for re-election of Governor Umaru Fintiri and the presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar. And Memphis Police Department disbands crime-fighting unit codenamed Scorpion after officers allegedly murdered 29-year-old motorist Tyree Nichols. We're staying with the elections. The chairman of the Big Tent Coalition of Political Parties and Civil Society Organizations for the OBDI Campaign organization, Professor Pat Utomi, is asking Nigerians to vote for credible candidates in next month's election. He made the call at a grassroots engagement for the OBDI movement with another round of the Clean Up Nigeria project in Lagos to promote culture of cleanliness of mind, body, and environment. Professor Utomi maintains that Peter Obi remains a good choice for the country's next phase of leadership.
Democracy is about rational public conversation, not about abusing one another. You see how they've been insulting each other? Yes. How will the world take Nigeria seriously? How can the world see this potential president and they call him a drug baron, and they see the other one and they call him a thief? What kind of country is this? This is why we have said for years that the nature of APC and PDP, or is it APD, APCD? APDC. It is not possible for them to provide Nigeria progress because their structure is anti-progress. It's about state capture. It's about a few individuals rounding up and keeping to themselves what is the Commonwealth. And we must say never again to that. Never again! We must take our country back. Yes! All of us have a duty. The next most important thing is door to door, neighbor to neighbor. We must begin to turn to our neighbors and canvass one door to the other. Let's turn out people. Let's make them get ready to vote. And on election day, let us knock on their doors to come out to vote. But very importantly, let all of us protect that vote. They are saying that, what do we call it? Beavers is impenetrable. We thank them. We want it to be. But there are games that are being played. We want them to explain. We want INEC to show that you cannot go to a rural area, capture people's biometrics before, and play games by increasing the number of people who are supposed to be there to vote. We must get INEC to do a dry run before the world and get global experts to cross-check the system to make sure that Nigerians' votes are counted and the true choice of the people emerges. Yes. And we, Labour, constitute the choice of the people. Yes. Because where they are plundering the country, we are cleaning up Nigeria. Yes. Where they are consuming what they did not produce, we are moving from consumption to production.
The platform, an initiative of the Covenant Nation spearheaded by Pastor Poju Oyemade, has held a governorship debate in Lagos with 3 candidates from the ADC, Labour Party and PDP in attendance. The candidates shared their ideas in solving problems in the areas of security, education, traffic congestion in Lagos, water sanitation, waste management, among others. The ADC candidate Funsho Dohete hopes to broaden the state's educational system by increasing linkages between the educational system and the business communities.
You have been in the best position
educational system, in Lagos particularly, needs to be broadened, and the range of vocational and technical options needs to be further broadened. If you think about an economy like Lagos, it's been a commercial capital for centuries. We will continue to be a center of commerce, a center of manufacturing, a center of industry. One of the advantages that we have here in Lagos is that we are a port city, and we have a large population which is sitting right on the coast, and that's a large market, and it's also a potentially large workforce. So if you think about Lagos, Lagos is almost a natural draw for any manufacturer who wants to establish a business for export and for local consumption. And what we need to do is to ensure that our educational system is producing graduates that can give them the skilled workers that they need for those businesses. And that's going to be a core element of our overall strategy. Political violence.
The Labour Party candidate Gbadebo Rhodes Viver speaks of the current state of security in the state.
So I disavow all forms of political thuggery, intimidation, voter suppression, because it's more than even just shooting of people or carrying out acts of violence. There's a lot of violence that has been happening throughout the collection of voter card process. And also, there's a culture of thuggery that has been celebrated in Lagos State for a very long time. It's extremely hypocritical that the Agbero menace that has expanded in Lagos for so long, that's even so during the NSAS protest, BRT buses with people coming out with matches in front of the State House, with the governor sitting down in his office. And the hypocrisy of it is very, very disappointing that he will not be here for that reason. At the same time, it's important that we move forward in Lagos State in a civilized manner and restore Lagos State to the center of excellence in its politics and in its thinking.
Political violence.
With the figures of out-of-school children in Lagos currently standing at 2 million, the candidate of the PDP, Abdul Aziz Adediran, shares his ideas on how the problem can be solved.
I will go into partnership with the registered 5,000 private schools that we have in Lagos State. First, I have to call a meeting and seek for the assistance. Say, you know what, I have some of our children out of school. I want to see how many of them I can spread across your school. I'll give them uniform, give them learning aids, give them anything in exchange for incentives or tax holiday, as the case may be. That would achieve something for us. Secondly, I have to also go into partnership with churches and mosques, and I say, you know what, you have your space that you're not using between the school hours. I have some of my children. Can I take them here? I'll get them somebody who will take care of them, teach them what they need to do between that time, pending when I'll then embark on aggressive infrastructural renewal of classrooms across the board and all of that. So if we do this, it will first reduce the number of out-of-school children we have in Lagos without spending fortune.
The incumbent governor and candidates of the APC, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, pulled out hours before the debate, adding that he would no longer participate in any public function, especially governorship debates that would involve the People's Democratic Party, whose supporters, he alleged, carried out an attack in Surulere area in a video that's gone viral. To other matters, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has asked President Muhammadu Buhari to direct the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, to investigate the reported attack on the Labour Party's presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, after a rally in Katsina State. SERAP also asked the president to look into other cases of election-related intimidation and harassment across the country. A letter written by SERAP notes that the escalating cases of election-related violence are fundamentally inconsistent with the principle of free and fair elections. A rights group appeals to the president to caution state governors to stop reported suppression of campaigns by opposition parties within their states and to ensure the security of everyone, irrespective of their party. According to SERAP, the attack on Mr. Obi and others comes on the heels of reported 339 incidents of election-related intimidation, harassment, and violence across the country in 2022. Nigeria's current security situation shows the APC-led federal government has failed in its core function of being in charge, not my views, but those of the former Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps and former Minister of Aviation, Mr. Osita Chidoka. Mr. Chidoka, who also is the Director of Voter Intelligence and Strategy of the opposition People's Democratic Party's Presidential Campaign Council, says because most security agencies are squarely within federal control, the buck cannot be passed, and if the PDP wins next month's polls, a wholesome revamp of the sector will be top priority.
The federal government controls the police, the army, the state security department. They control the prisons. The federal government has failed in the discharge of the single responsibility that the Constitution of Nigeria gave to the federal government. We're going to devolve powers to the state governments to play the role of what we call security officers of their state in reality. Nigeria is under-policed. Nigerians' process of engagement, training, and upgrade of our security situation is poor. So we need to revamp how we recruit police officers. We need to revamp how we train police officers. We need to revamp how we look after them when they lose their lives in the pursuit of security of lives and property of Nigerians. Then we need to think about how we can do community policing, how the local authorities in every locality, in every government can come together to work with the federal government to fight criminality in their locality. Then we need to go into the issues that are causing tension amongst Nigerians. And those issues are going to be looked into in such a way that we can be finding both short-term and long-term solutions to it. It is the failure to engage Nigerians on these issues that is causing this tension in Nigeria today. First, if you take a cursory look at the manner the APC government has managed our national diversity, it leaves a lot to be desired. The appointment of security chiefs in the whole of the organizations that we have today in security, all the key heads of those parastatals are from one part of the country. We need to look at that again. We need to look around the manner of the issues that are concerning Nigerians. That is what I call the default issues that concern Nigeria. Managing our diversity will mean that a federal government will be responsive to the needs of Nigerians.
You can watch the full interview with Mr. Chidoka on Roadmap 2023. It airs tomorrow, Monday, January 30, 2023 at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. 3 police officers have been reportedly killed around Ebonyi and Enugu border posts by gunmen late Saturday evening. Confirming the incident to Channels Television, the spokesperson of the command, Chris Anyanwu, said the gunmen drove in 2 Sienna buses as they carried out the attack. The attack on Ebonyi border checkpoint left another officer seriously injured who is said to be receiving treatment at hospital. Meanwhile, according to reports, these same gunmen had attacked a military checkpoint in Edo State, killing 2 soldiers before proceeding to the border checkpoint where they killed 3 police officers. And at least 9 persons have died after a truck carrying a 20-feet container fell on a commercial bus in the Ojuelegba area of Lagos. A statement by the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency says the commercial bus was picking up passengers at the bus stop along Ojuelegba Bridge when the truck lost control and fell over the side of the bridge. Officials of Lasima and other emergency workers later responded to a distress call and were able to rescue a woman after cutting off the top of the bus. Lasima explains that 9 persons who died include 7 adults and 2 children. Sad indeed. Now, it might be 26 days to the start of the 2023 general elections, but tonight, the question is, how many days is it to the end of vote buying? I'm not the one with the answers. Perhaps Babajide Ogusonwo can tell us. You like to ask these questions, don't you?
Yes, I do. You're right. It's 26 days to the election. The question most Nigerians want to really let us answer is who will win. But tonight isn't about who will win.
Right,
I think it's about vote buying.
Yeah, it is. Tonight is about fears of vote buying and vote selling. So do you have any proof, that exchange of votes for money will play a significant role in this election as it perhaps has in previous elections?
So yes, we have proof that exchange of money for votes will play a significant role in this election. We also have proof on the 3 categories that would most influence the election results. So I'd like to start with the first of the 3 categories that would have the most impact on this result. And if we take a look at that first category, we're talking about rural areas. Here's what I mean. 70% of Nigeria's population live in rural areas. The evidence from the Independent National Electoral Commission also shows that an estimated 70% of its polling units, of the over 176,000 polling units, are going to be located in rural areas. So the truth is, rural areas will be one of those 3 categories that will influence the results. And what are those? Based on the evidence from the National Bureau of Statistics, majority of Nigeria's poor people live in these rural areas, and that's where we find high propensity for vote trading and vote buying and selling, as people will call it. So yes, that's the evidence. Number 1, rural areas, poor people living in rural areas.
And this is rural areas across the country, right?
Rural
Not
areas,
to specific
yes.
areas, okay.
Rural areas across the country. But here's the second and perhaps the most important thing which you're talking about, the poor people. The poor people, even more than the youths, will influence what happens in the next 26 days. And I'd also like us to take a look at the facts from the National Bureau of Statistics and the Independent National Electoral Commission regarding poverty in Nigeria. Here are the facts, Amarachi. Today, yes, the evidence shows that there are 65.6 million Nigerians who are poor adults. Poor adults. 65.6 million Nigerian adults are poor. The challenge is, how many adults are registered to vote? Because that will give us an idea of how many poor people are on the register. And so that's the answer, 93.5 million. In simple terms, more than half of the names on the voter database are poor people. I'll repeat that. More than half of the 93.5 million Nigerians that are registered are poor people. And so that is the second point. The first point, Nigerians living in rural areas will determine who becomes the next president or leader, because that's where majority of the polling units and majority of the voters live. The second point is, it is Nigeria's poor, the poorest of the poor, will be the ones to decide who leads them. And that is because the fact shows that we have 65.6 million Nigerians, adult Nigerians, who are poor, and majority of these poor people are the ones that are registered. So we'll have to decide what exactly will be their choice.
I don't know what to say. You've left me astounded. But is there any way to also forecast which are the areas or zones that might be prone to vote trading? And give us specifics here.
Yeah, so that brings me to the third point. Remember, the first point is the rural areas. Families living in rural areas will determine the outcome of the election. The second point is the poor families, because majority of those on the database are poor. And if the poor will determine who will win, it simply brings us to the third point, the impact of the wealthy, the rich. So families living in rural areas, the poor, and the wealthy. And by the wealthy, I'd like us to take a look at the fact, especially with the release of the central bank today that states that we still have 900 billion naira. In other words, the central bank governor says they are looking for 900 billion naira sitting in people's homes. They haven't said who owns the money, but the central bank has come out to say 900 billion naira that should be in the banks, even though it had given a deadline, still has not come in to the system. 900 billion naira, Amarachi, is a lot of money comparing to, if you look at the number of Nigerians who are poor and how much of it will have an impact. But let's take a look at the facts. In the north, we have 50.2 million registered voters. In the north, adults living in poverty, 39.3 million people. In other words, the vulnerability to sell your vote in the north, 78%. 78% of registered voters potentially will be willing to sell their votes. And that is because we have in the north 39.3 million adults and we only have 50.2 million voters on the database. So the vulnerability in the north, 78%. Let's look at what's going on in the southern region. Registered voters, 43.3 million. Adults living in poverty, 26.3 million. In other words, 6 out of 10 voters are vulnerable in the south. In the north, 8 out of 10 are vulnerable to sell their vote. In the final analysis, I will call this election a war between the monies of the rich and the will of the poor. Which will prevail, the monies of the rich or the will of the poor? And that's what we're going to find out on February 25. Before then, we'll be in the studio to share a lot more analysis as to what exactly will shape the decisions. Will it be money? Will it be pure strength or will?
And maybe the CBN should also follow the trail of the monies missing from
900 billion naira still sitting in somebody's home or some person's home.
It's in an empty house somewhere, Babajide, I assure you that.
We'll find out in the days ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming tonight and giving us a lot more to chew on. Thanks again.
The pleasure is all mine.
Further stories, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, say they have successfully demolished a trans-border drug cartel after the arrest of 5 leaders of the syndicate. Here in Lagos at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, a freight agent was arrested over an attempt to export 3 automobile air compressors, which contained a total of 27.50 kilograms of skunk. In the same vein, no fewer than 2,601.5 kilograms of cannabis and 102,500 pills of pharmaceutical opioids were seized during interdiction operations across 8 states last week. Meanwhile, efforts of the operatives also paid off in Delta State, where at least 250.3 kilograms of psychoactive substances were recovered. 718 kilograms of cannabis was also recovered from an uncompleted building in Sabongida Ora, one local government area of Edo State. The Nigeria leg of the largest multinational maritime exercise in Western and Central Africa has begun in Lagos on Nigeria's new landing ship, the NNS Kada. Exercise in its 13th year has grown from 9 participating countries to over 30. The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Zuberu Gambo, who was present at the ceremony, attributed the drastic reduction in maritime insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea to the exercise over the years. It's a small, restricted crowd aboard the NNS Kada, performing perhaps its first assignment on Nigerian waters since its return from a voyage to Guinea-Bissau in August last year. The special occasion is a flag-off ceremony of exercise Obangame Express 2023 at the Naval Dockyard in Lagos. Special guests are the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Zuberu Gambo, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Jeffrey Onyama, the U.S. Consul General in Lagos, Will Stevens, the Commander, U.S. 6th Fleet, Vice Admiral Thomas Ishe, the Flag Officer Commanding of Nigeria's Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Yakubu Wambai, senior naval officers, sister maritime agencies, and members of the Diplomatic Corps. The Chief of Naval Staff, while hailing the achievements of Obangame exercise over the years, says this year's event will not only further secure the Gulf of Guinea, but would contribute greatly to the African Union's Continental Free Trade Area Agreement.
The exercise is designed to improve regional collaboration through joint operations, intelligence sharing, and harmonized legal frameworks to enhance collective capabilities of Gulf of Guinea nations against maritime crimes. This year's exercise is particularly instructive, considering efforts of the African Union at establishing and operationalizing regional task forces. This will no doubt enhance the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, as well as development of sustainable blue economy, which of course is the future of the world.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs reiterated the knock-on effect of maritime security on Nigeria's economy and the international partnerships, as well as the President's commitment to it.
We're extremely delighted to hear from, becoming a real global black spot, the Gulf of Guinea, that it's almost is virtually zero now, zero piracy. President Muhammadu Buhari also attaches great importance to securing the Gulf of Guinea and making it a zone to promote trade. It's reckoned that the resources of the oceans, we still haven't even started to tap and to benefit from those resources.
For the United States government, Obangame exercise is part of a long-standing comprehensive strategy by the U.S. government to provide collaborative opportunities among African forces and international partners to address maritime security.
We don't just need African solutions to African problems. We need African solutions to global problems. And the issues that we're facing today and that we're dealing with in this exercise, counter-narcotics, piracy, IUU, these are global issues and global problems, and they don't just hit the Gulf of Guinea, they hit East Africa, they hit the Caribbean. And one of the great things about exercises like this is you learn quickly where the integration isn't happening and how you can work together to integrate, because only when we work together as governments and within governments can we really work on these thorny issues.
There are 33 nations across 4 continents participating in this year's exercise. Obangame is a brainchild of the U.S. Africa Command, part of the U.S. Naval Forces Europe and U.S. Naval Forces Africa, which for more than 80 years has forged strategic partnerships with allies and partners to preserve security and stability. Globacom continues to make dreams come true for aspiring homeowners as it continues to give more houses, cars, and other mouth-watering gifts to lucky winners across Nigeria. 25-year-old Miriam Oyelami is the latest recipient of the Star Prize of a 3-bedroom bungalow in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. At the presentation ceremony, Globacom sales coordinator of the West, Mr. Akim Yusuf, says the Glo Festival of Joy was initiated to celebrate loyal customers and encourage continuous patronage of the brand.
The giveaway season continues in 2023 as Glo continues its Globacom Festival of Joy. This time, the communications brand officials are in Ibadan, Oyo State, to give back to loyal customers. The highlight of the day was the presentation of a 3-bedroom apartment to 25-year-old Miriam Oyelami. Her friends and families were on hand to share in the joy.
I'm really excited, like I didn't expect something huge like this. I swear. Thank you, Glo. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I won't forget this in my life. Thank you very much.
The zonal representative of the National Lottery Commission in his address says legitimate lottery schemes could change lives for the better.
I want to enjoin the public to see lottery as something good that you can participate, because it empowers people. It empowers people. People that has one sewing machine today, they start their business. Some people want generator, of course. They start to enjoy their life. So when you see lottery, as long as it's been endorsed by the commission, please participate.
Globacom representative at the event reiterates the reasons for initiating the Festival of Joy and assures of the company's resolve to continue to provide more value-adding products and services.
The Glo Festival of Joy promo was initiated in celebration of our customers' loyalty to the brand. It is in furtherance of our determination to continue to make our subscribers happy and very fulfilled. We congratulate today's lucky winners and enjoin all to spread word that Globacom keep its promises to its customers.
So far, 20 units of houses, 24 cars, and hundreds of power generators, sewing machines and rechargeable fans have been won in the ongoing Festival of Joy promo. And the good news is many more still stand a chance of winning any of the mouth-watering prizes.
Straight on to the foreign scene now. The Memphis Police Department, known as a Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhood, Scorpion for short, has been disbanded after officers were accused of murdering 29-year-old motorist Tyree Nichols. The unit is a 50-person team tasked with bringing down crime levels in particular areas. The police department said in a statement the disbandment was in the best interest of all. Protesters cheering loudly as news of the specialized unit that included at least some of the Memphis officers involved in the fatal beating of Tyree Nichols being disbanded, as announced by the police department. The unit was formed in October 2021 to concentrate on crime hotspots. Critics say such specialized teams can be prone to abusive tactics. The move comes after voice recordings from police body-worn cameras and a camera mounted on a utility pole showed Nichols repeatedly calling Mum as officers kicked, punched and struck him with a baton in his mother's neighborhood after a January 7 traffic stop. He was hospitalized and died of his injuries 3 days later. The video too hard for some to watch. Protests erupted across Memphis on Friday and in different cities. Protesters marched through Memphis, Tennessee on Saturday to demand justice for Nichols. U.S. President Joe Biden spoke to Nichols' parents, Ronnie Wells and Ravon Wells, via telephone on Friday.
I'm a man of faith. I'm a practicing Catholic, and I have on my wrist as I'm speaking to you what we Catholics call a rosary that I got down at a site in Mexico, which I went to as honors the Blessed Mother, because Glo always thought that. So I just, when things get tough, I just touch it.
Among notable personalities who have spoken on the issue is Laura Denise King, daughter of Ronnie King, another Black American who was beaten to death by Los Angeles police officers in 1991.
Tell me if you sleep good at night when you watch this. Tell me, how do I explain this to my 3-year-old son when he turns 5 and he's trying to adapt to this? This doesn't make sense. What about his white friends? How do we explain this? This is not acceptable. It's not.
She, like many others, have watched the video. Emotions have varied, from tears to remorse to quiet wonder if the same thing could happen again. The Iranian Defense Ministry says it's foiled a drone attack on a military facility in the city of Isfahan. The ministry said 3 drones were involved, but there were no casualties. According to the ministry, 1 drone was destroyed by air defense systems and 2 were caught by defense traps, causing minor damage to a building. The extent of damage to the site has not been confirmed. There's been no immediate claim of responsibility. Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian said the cowardly incident was an attempt to destabilize the country. He added, though, the incident would not impact Iran's determination and intention regarding the peaceful nuclear progress. It comes amid heightened tensions over Iran's nuclear program and its supply of arms to Russia's war in Ukraine. Authorities in New Zealand say at least 4 people have died after the city of Auckland experienced its wettest day on record on Friday. Auckland is set to have received 75% of its usual summer rainfall in just 15 hours. A local state of emergency was declared as authorities managed evacuations and widespread flooding. New Zealand's Prime Minister Chris Hipkins thanked emergency services for their swift response to the disaster. The new Prime Minister travelled to Auckland, where he also expressed his condolences to the loved ones of those who died in the floods. And one more political story on the local scene. The presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, is asking members of the party in Edo State to be united to work towards victory for the party in the 2023 general elections. Addressing a town hall meeting in Benin City, the Edo State capital, Senator Tinubu urged the electorate to rescue their state from persons whom he says do not mean well. APC flag bearer, who also visited the Oba of Benin, also promised to ask for compensation for the returned artifacts to Benin if elected president.
I assure you, we are going to mend all those anomalies, and Edo will be a center
of economic activity for us. You have fought the ancestors' battle of retribution. Yes, the artifacts are back. But so many people had made money out of it in exhibitions. Where is our court? Where is our share? We don't say just return the artifacts. We say true, we can house them. We must house them. We must turn it to an economic exhibition center. We will develop that exhibition center. The new museum.
Winners have also emerged at the 2023 Daniel Ogbehi Akujobi Memorial Foundation Charity Golf Tournament that was held at the Ikoyi Club 1938 in Lagos. H.M. Vaswani became the winner in the men's category, while Patricia Olima won in the women's category after they posted outstanding results in the competition.
Despite the early morning rain, the 2023 Daniel Ogechi Akujobi Memorial Foundation Golf Tournament tees off at the Ikoyi Club 1938. The tournament brings together professional and amateur players, members of the Ikoyi Club 1938, and corporate organizations to raise funds to support social and development causes in Nigeria. The tournament, which is an 18-hole round on the foremost golf course in the country, also presents opportunities for players to win laurels.
You know, fortunately, most golfers have, relative to the society, they are privileged. So we identify with them and then try to educate them, enlighten them on the need to extend their support to the less privileged. Because if our society is better off in terms of people who will have less security problems, there will be development, there will be happiness, and things will move on fine.
I mean, this tournament is very well known, the quality of competition, because this is the only charity tournament that has a qualifier played before. It's usually charity tournaments, you tend to appeal to people to come because you're supposed to donate and things like that. But this is the only one that the interest is so high that we play a qualifier. The qualifiers we play here are for very big tournaments like Nigeria Cup, India Cup, and things like that.
At the end, H.M. Vaswani emerges the overall best in the men's category after he posted the most outstanding results of the day, while Patricia Lima won the women's best overall trophy.
You need to do dual. Sometimes for you to have participated and have won, you know, give some confidence that they can play next time. But they're giving out some money for the tournament to be organized, some prizes, and the bulk goes for charity.
Daniel Ogechi Akujobi Memorial Foundation says it is committed to using golf to change the lives of people in Nigeria.
And the main news again. The Central Bank of Nigeria today announced an extension in the deadline for the collection of old Naira notes by another 10 days. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele announced the extension after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari in Daura, Katsina. Also, the presidential candidate, Senator Bola Tinubu, visited the Oba of Benin, where he promised to ask for compensation on returned artifacts from Europe if elected president. That'll be all on the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night and stay safe.